Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be showing you how to stitch leaves and stems for those snowdrops. I made two embroidery designs. One of them I already stitched, as you can see. It's already done and I only need to finish this embroidery on the bottom. I'm going to add some white beads here so it's gonna display the snow. So this piece is going to be done and I'm gonna make a PDF pattern for this as well. And today I'm going to be stitching this pattern with you. Yesterday we were painting this envelope and I tried stitching the border. As you can see, I did backstitch. It's a whipped backstitch, and yeah, you can use any kind of another thread color. Maybe you will like to use some gold threads here or metallic silver threads. Just play with it and see how it looks for you. I think I'm gonna stop on this. I also have metallics purple threads, which I will probably try to add to this. I just will whip one more time and see how it looks like. So today I'm gonna be stitching with you this teeny leaf here. So we will be able to finish it in one session, and I will also show you how to stitch the stem. Ooh, I forgot to draw the line. I guess I will just free hand draw it. So I like kind of see where it should go, so it's not a problem. So I'm gonna fix my hoop in my hoop stand. And I will probably zoom a little bit so you will see all the details. Okay. So, I didn't finish this thread yet and I would like to show you the whipped back stitch which I was doing for the borders here. So we will start from this and then we will switch to the stem and then we will do the leaf. Okay, so back stitch is a really simple stitch. You just need to make one stitch forward and then you come up here and you go back from the front side and make one more stitch. And I would recommend to do the equal size of your stitches so it's gonna look consistent. Like this. So I will continue till the end of the line, and when I will be back, I will be weaving this line. So I finished the line and I come up here in the end of the line, and now I will be weaving. I go under my stitch. I will go under every stitch I made here and I will do it in the same direction. I help with my finger from the left hand, so I can pop up a little bit the fabric, so I will go under the between the thread and fabric. I don't go through the fabric right now, and this stitch creates a solid line. As you can see, all the holes between the stitches are hidden right now, and to finish the stitch you can go to the place where you started. So this is how you can do whipped backstitch, and the same way you can stitch the stem. You can do stem stitch or whipped backstitch for the stems. I will show you both ways. So you just sew the whipped backstitch, and I really like it because it's simple, it's fun to do, and yeah, it creates a nice solid line, and it's also suitable for those curved shapes. So now I need to finish the thread, and you can take a look how I do it. I flip it to the back side, and I like to finish my threads using the loop, but right now and I like to attach to the threads on the back side, which I already done, so I will jump from here to here. Oops, I accidentally splitted this stitch, so I jump it, and now I can do the loop, and I go through this loop, and it creates a teeny knot right here. And now to finish this thread, I'm hiding the ends. This way I whip few times. I usually do it 3 times, and now I can cut really close. So that's my favorite way, and it's suitable for all embroidery projects, and especially it's suitable for those cases when you are stitching on your clothing. So the needle size I use, it's a smaller needle that I have in my kit, or the medium size. So for the stamps, as for the color codes, which colors you can use, you can find all the color codes in the PDF pattern. So there is a color map and a color palette with different thread brands that you can use. So I did color maps for DMC, Gamma, and probably if I will get some real color map for other brands, I will be pointing you to another color brands like Encore threads, or I also want to get a color map for for Cosmos threads. Yeah, forgot the word, sorry. Because I really like the quality of the threads, and I like to use 3 strands of floss for the stems. It will create the same nice line for the stem. You can use 4 colors if you want to make it even like harder, you know. So right now I'm not going to be doing repeat backstitch. I will show you how to do stem stitch. So there's another way. So this time I'm gonna start from the knot, because I will start from here and I will be moving down to this point. Okay, let me find the pen and I will draw the line. pants should have another color. Yeah, it's blue. So it should be visible here. So I have to choose if I will start from the knot or I will start from the another place, and it's another way to start the thread without knots. So I guess you know how to start your thread with knots. Let's try another way. How I do it. So as you can see here, I started my thread on the leaf, and I was stitching this border. This is how I do it. I can start from here. I know that this place is going to be fully stitched, fully covered by another stitches, so I can start from here. I do several running stitches. I didn't do any knots, so I keep my thread right now. I do this way. So this is where my ends, and I split my previous stitch from the top. Usually for me it's enough to do split stitch only one time, but to make sure that you fixate your thread really nice, you can do one more split stitch like this. And this time it's definitely will be sitting in this place, so I can start stitching right here. And we can do stamp stitch. As you can see, I did one stitch and I keep the thread using my left hand, and I came up in the middle here. So I tied my thread and I do the same. In the places where the curve is the most, the places where it's the most curved, I do short stitches. So because if you will do long stitches, it's not gonna work, it's not gonna create a solid curved line. And another thing you need to remember, that you need to keep your thread on the same side. So I always keep my loop on the right side in this case. I like to do it outside, like to keep the loop outside of the curve. And here in this place where the line became straight, I can do slightly longer stitches. So I continue doing the same way. Till I finish this line. So that's the stamp stitch. For another design, which is made on the lavender fabric, I used satin stitch, and I draw the stamps. They are thicker than those, so you can try doing stamp stitch on for this design too. See, I will show you closer. So for this design, as you can see, I did the stem. I'm sorry, it looks like my cat was here again. Oh my god. So I did the stems using the satin stitch. And here is how it looks like. You can do inside outline for both sides and then cover with stem stitch, so it's gonna look, so the edges will be sharp. So this is how you can do another way. This way takes more time and this way is more simple and fast. I'm trying to keep this table, this place for video recording clean, but it's located near my window and my cats really love to sit here, so they are always trying to sit here and watch outside, looks outside from my windows. This place is really hard to keep clean because when I forget to close my doors, some cat will appear here and they will be sleeping here if I will not notice. So it's like a favorite place for my cats, but now it's not available. So to finish the stem stitch, you need to do this short stitch too. So I did longer stitch and I finish it by this short stitch. So I went on top of my previous stitches for the borders, as you can see, so it like lays on top of it naturally. So now I'm gonna stitch leaves and I'm gonna need another thread color, so I will probably no, I'm not gonna be finishing it because I will use this color for the central part of the leaf. So what I can do, my thread ends here and I will need to start stitching from the top to the bottom, so I can jump right this way. So if you don't want to finish your thread and you need to jump far away, you can do this way. I do some running stitches instead of doing just one straight line from here to here, so it's going to be on the back. I don't like to do this, so I'm gonna do this way, and I'm gonna like put this thread for later from here, so I'm gonna use it later. Right now I'm gonna switch to another color. It's going to be darker color like this. And I'm gonna take 3 strands. And you can call it a satin stitch or leaf stitch. I saw that some people call it leaf stitch, but it's actually just a satin stitch. And you can do it different ways. You can stitch 1/2 of the leaf first, and then you can stitch 1/2 of the leaf first and then switch to another half of the leaf, or you can do start from the top and stitch one side for one side at a time. So you can do it like a leaf stitch, but it's not a fishbone stitch. It's different because we are not crossing our stitches here, because we will need to create one more line in the middle. So here is what I'm trying to do. So there is going to be satin stitch, and in the middle I'm gonna do stem stitch. So I take 3 strands. I like 3 strands because it's gonna make the leaf is gonna make like pop, like it's gonna create a nice volume for this satin stitch. If you want to make it flat, you can use 2 strands or 1 strand, but it's gonna take you longer to fill this leaf, and it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be flat, and I don't like flat leaves. In this case, those leaves should have some volume. Before stitching this satin stitch, in my PDF pattern, you will find the stitches direction page. There's going to be an illustration where I draw the direction like this for your stitches. And you can guide yourself using the heating erasable pen, and you can draw those lines for yourself, or you can print the pattern version on the water soluble stabilizer. And so you need to like remember where your stitches should go, because it's important, for especially for leaves. The right stitches direction can make the leaf look natural. So I start my thread without knots, as I like to do. I'm splitting this stitch, and if you have some ends like this, you can cut it. So I'm gonna start from the center and from the top. I'm gonna make 1 stitch, and I'm gonna be making 1 stitch on one side and 1 stitch on another side, and I will be moving down, and this way I will fill the leaf. If you want to make this leaf with sharp edges and using only satin stitch, you cannot like do those edges to be sharp, and you can do inside outline with split stitch and then cover with satin stitch. And in the places like this where the direction of the stitches is changed, you can do short stitches between your like normal long stitches. I do this way. This stitch is not too short, it's just shorter than the previous one, and I'm trying to like finish it right here, almost under my previous stitch, so it's going to be hidden. And when I will make this stitch, I will cover this place and you will not see the stitch. It's better than to do stitches and finish them in the same place right here, it's gonna create like a big hole depending on the type of the fabric that you use, and it's gonna be like hard to put the next stitches here. So I would recommend to do slightly shorter stitches like this in those places where you need to like turn the stitches direction. In the places where you will keep the same stitches direction, like starting from this point, you will not need to do any shorter stitches. All the stitches will be like the same and you will be moving down. So as I said, you can stitch using this satin stitch only one side and finish it on the bottom, and then stitch another side like I do right now. Or you can do one stitch on one side and one stitch on another side. It's just up to you how you feel comfortable. You may have some gaps in the middle of the leaf. Don't worry, you will fill all those gaps using the stem stitch, which you will create the central vein of the leaf, so you will hide this way your gaps if you have some. But if this gap is big, like this one, let me try to do it. Yeah, see, between those stitches there is some gap, so you can go back between those stitches and make one more stitch like this. And if you have the thread which is a little bit twisted like this, when you are stitching and doing stem stitch, you need to take a look at your thread all the time and make sure that it's not twisted. So I move my needle down here and I brush my thread a few times so it can untwist my thread, and I can continue stitching. And in case if your stitch is twisted, you can come up and you can like do this way with your needle. You can lay it properly, like you can use some laying tool. I saw some people use some laying tool. I use my needle, so you can keep your thread using your left hand and move it this way, so it's gonna be laying down flat if it's twisted a little bit. And if you noticed, when I was preparing my threads for this type of stitch, I was separating my threads one by one. I also let it to unwind, so, and only then I put them all together. So this way I make sure that my thread is not twisted, because when they come in the 6 strands together originally from the skein, they're usually twisted. Let me know in the comments, guys, which kind of stitch, which type of stitch you like to use when you are stitching leaves. Which is your favorite stitch for leaves? I would like to know. I wish I could make a time lapse here because yeah, it takes a little bit of time to finish this sleeve, so bear with me. I'm gonna finish it right now. So as you can see, my stitches became shorter and shorter here. So last few stitches and I'm done with this color. Yeah, one more stitch, the teeny one. So I will cover this blank white space, and here we go. This sleeve is finished. I'm gonna finish my thread. And this time I'm gonna make a loop right away and tight it. And I'm gonna go under my stitches. I make a long stitch under my stitches, so it's gonna be hidden. And now I can cut it really close. Okay, now I can continue stitching, and I'm gonna stitch with another color, and I will create the central line for the leaf. So I'm gonna start from almost the edge, but it's really close. It's not on the edge, it's like from here, and I'm gonna make a stem stitch, and I'm gonna be doing long stitches in this case. And I go between the stitches, I split in sometimes, long stitch, sorry, and do the stem stitch this way. If not all your threads are laying down flat, you can tie one of them which is not laying properly, like this. Try this one. In one more final stitch, and this sleeve is finished. So this is how I stitch all the leaves here. Some leaves doesn't have the central line like this one. The stitches direction is going to be like for 1/2 of the leaf, so it's like folded together, and this leaf is also going to be like 1/2 of the leaf, and it's going to be satin stitch. And for those leaves I'm gonna do this way, following this stitches direction, so all the leaves gonna look naturally. For those places I'm gonna use this dark color, and it's going to be also just a satin stitch, and I'm gonna do it in one direction. And there are also smaller leaves like on the top. Let me move the camera so you can see it. So I'm talking about those leaves. Let's stitch one of them. So it's going to be like satin stitch, but slightly different way. I'm gonna finish this thread. And switch to another color because they are slightly lighter. I'm gonna use this color. And you can also use 3 strands of floss. So as usual, I separate them one by one, so they are going to be untwisted. And lay nice, flat. And I'm gonna start the same way without any knots. You can do running stitch like this. And I'm gonna start filling this sleeve from this top place as I did for those sleeves, but I'm gonna do longer stitches like this. And it's gonna look like similar to the fishbone stitch, but actually not yet fishbone. I'm not crossing my threads, so it's like a leaf stitch. But for me, just a satin stitch. I just don't like to call it leaf stitch, but yeah, you can call it leaf stitch. So they have slightly longer stitches. And to cover the central part, when you have some gaps, you can make one long stitch in the center, so you will cover it with this last stitch. So this is how I feel those teeny leaves on the top. I hope you guys liked my video tutorial, and if you want me to go live more often, just hit the subscribe button and like this video, and I will save this live stream forever for everyone. You can rewatch it later, you can watch it when you will be stitching this pattern with me. So you can find this PDF pattern on my Etsy shop right now. For this version with envelope, I made a PDF pattern already available on my Etsy, and I will make one more pattern for this version also soon, so take an eye on it, like you say, and it's gonna be posted in a few days probably, or maybe on next week. It depends on how fast I will finish this pattern. And in my next video tutorial I will be stitching this snowdrop flower. I hope that we will be able to stitch it during one live stream. I hope so. So the difference between there may be slightly different ways how you will stitch it depending on your fabric color, because in this case we have white fabric and the flower is white as well, so we will need the outline for entire flower like I did for this flower. So we will be do this way for this white fabric, and in case if you are stitching snowdrops on this on some colored fabric like this, you not necessarily should do outlining for entire flower, so you can choose whether you outline it, whether you just outline just inside between the petals, because actually I did some outlining here. As you can see, there is some outlining with dark gray color between the petals, so they look like separate objects. So hope you will join me on the next live stream. Tomorrow I will be stitching the flower with you guys. So thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you will watch my next video tutorial. And take a look on my YouTube channel. There are a lot of video tutorials. They are all free, and Maybe you will like some of them too, because I was experimenting with different materials and there are different video tutorials for that. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time. Bye guys!